Hello everyone, this is WGM Sabina Foisor. Welcome to round 6 commentary of the National Middle School Championship in Round Rock, Texas. It's always a pleasure to be a host here on US Chess Twitch channel, and I'm always looking forward for more exciting content, more exciting games, so that we all have something to learn from. Tournaments like this would not be possible without tremendous help behind the scenes from US Chess staff and volunteers. So I want to take a moment to thank them all for all the hard work over this weekend. Of course, it's always nice to be able to have the games, and I want to thank also all the TDs and the DGT operator to make sure the games are brought in live smoothies so that we actually have the opportunity to look over them. Big thank you to Silver Knights, GT, Anywhere, and Invisalign for sponsoring the tournament, and of course big thanks to the players for fighting it all the way till the end, and the parents and coaches on site and supporting from home to inspire future generations to continue working on their game and coming in every single time more reinforced with new ideas and bringing their best to be able to win competitions like these and others. As you know, I like to start the stream with a review from the previous round. Today is no different. For today's recap of round 5, I decided to stop across this position that was played on board 2 of the under 1700 section. This game was played between Nirvan Sivakumar and Danda Adyan Reddy. In this position, White seems to be enjoying a slightly better, I would say, knight versus bishop position, though this pawn is a bit backwards. White is the one who has better placed rooks, has the ability to infiltrate on the 7th rank, and if the knight is to go to f4, I think White's position slowly starts improving. Now, in the game, it is Black's turn right now. So in the game, Black ended up feeling that it was very important to trade White's rooks because of their activity and their ability to infiltrate on a7. However, in this position, it is more important to get rid of the knight. So had Black taken in g2, I think this game likely could have ended in a draw. Even if White checks first, we can go to b8. Of course, b8, not b6 to get checkmated, right? So we go king b8. Another check is not going to help. There's not going to be any kind of mate on the horizon. So if White recaptures, it is very important for Black to find a way to trade off that rook. But if we do so immediately, we might fall into rook takes g7 and with opportunities to infiltrate. So what Black has to do first is grab this pawn on d2 as this king moves away. Now Black can play this move rook c8. So if you do capture in g7, Black will play the move rook c7, attempting the trade of the rooks. And if you think, well, I still have some mating nets in the horizon, not quite, because even if you get to do this, there's no mate, right? Rook a7, there's king b6, so Black will be perfectly fine, can probably attempt to grab some of these pawns, and eventually the game could end in a draw. So in my opinion, it was this move that had to be played to give equality to Black. But the position got quite interesting after the move rook a8, which gave White the opportunity to potentially play for a win after the trade of the rooks, king takes. In this position, White has the opportunity to save the knight, and now this knight is going to be way more powerful than the bishop. Of course, you have to play bishop g4, and the cool situation here happens after White attempts the trapping of the bishop. Of course, the bishop has a place to go, it's not going to be trapped, but if the bishop runs away, then White will have the ability to win some of those pawns. No wonder you are told in close positions knights are better than bishops, because knights do change color of what they are attacking, or from color from where they are to where they go to, whereas bishops stay on the same color. And this is the reason why after h3, White could have had a cool way to trap the bishop. Let's say Black would continue with bishop f3, we can play king f2. Let's say you bring in the king, then we can go, actually in this position, if we want to, we can try going for the pawn directly. So after h3, imagine he would have gone here just to be a bit further away. No problems. We can go king here. We can attack the bishop, and then we can reroute our knight to be brought to try to take the bishop. If the bishop will run away, the knight, by the way, from g5 will protect h3, and then the king can go trap the bishop. Once we win, the bishop will also win the e-pawn, and white's advancement with the king is going to be inevitable. So this would have been the way for white to win. However, in the position, white unfortunately misplayed and played h4. Though this move makes sense to place another pawn on a dark square and try to avoid being chased away with g5, actually in this position, black can hold. And what's the attempt to hold? Because obviously the knight can still jump around and attack pawns. Well, black will have the ability to bring in the king, trade off some of these pawns, and in the end, the bishop will have defended everything that was important. So let's see how the game proceeded. King b7, white went to grab the pawn in g7. That was going to be lost anyway, so there's no point to play g6 to force white to go grab it through f8. There's no way for white to stop this c5 or b4, so finally we get to trade that pawn too, and now it is time to create some kind of fortress. Now, if white is trying to advance, as you can see, they're restricted with the bishop here, so normally we would want to get the king to c2 and support d3, but since that is not possible, white decided to wait for black's king to go to c5 and now push the pawn, forcing the trade of those two pawns anyways. So this position actually should be a draw. Although white has the ability to go try to take the bishop can hold on. And white doesn't quite have the ability to infiltrate because black is able to restrict its entrance on various squares, and you have to be careful not to allow black's king to enter and grab your pawns should you try to circle around from the queen side. So what happened in this position is white figured, well, I'm going to try to bring in the knight to f4 and keep you passive and still attempt maybe the infiltration there. Black realized that if trading the bishop for the knight, the king and pawn endgame is a draw. And they were right. This endgame is truly a draw, despite the fact that white is up a pawn. Why is it a draw? Well, white's pawns are somewhat separated, and there's no possibility to create a passed pawn without trading everything off to remaining with the h-passed pawn with which it's a draw. So what happened is black plays king e5 in this position, king e2. We are circling around from this side to be able to enter through f4. Black restricts the entrance, king e5, king f3. And this is the moment of truth. King and pawn endgames always have to be double checked, and you always have to be careful for the opposition. Messing up with how the opposition goes is going to lead to defeat, especially if you're the defending side. So white is obviously attempting to enter through f4 and going to g5, and black must have, with a little time on the clock, must have misplayed on the wrong spot and unfortunately lost the game. The correct placement would have been king e6. After king f4, black takes the opposition, restricts white from entering either one of those sides, and if white attempts e4, we're just going to capture, king takes, keep the opposition, and even if white attempts to play g4, like I said, the h-pawn is only going to allow for a draw as black's king makes its way to the corner. Going back to that moment, if we go king e6 and white says, well, I'll go e4, and now if you take, I'll recapture with my king, take your opposition, and I'm going to win. The truth is, this position is indeed a win, because now we have to go king f6 to stop white's king from entering to get the pawn. Now they'll take the opposition. They want us to be as close as possible to the pawn so that when they enter, they actually have a fortress for us, not having the ability to go grab their pawn. And this is how white pushes black's king away. King h6 to stop king g5, king f6, king g5 now. White wins the other pawn and wins the game. Maybe that's too easy. Okay, well, how should black respond after e4? It's as simple as king e5. There's no need to panic. We are attacking the pawn, forcing white to capture, and now after king takes, it is black that has the opposition, and there's no way for white to be able to break through at this point. Even if you go back, even if we can create this kind of thing where we've triangulated and now it is black's turn, black can maintain his king on these two squares, and there's no progress now for white. Attempting to go through there would actually allow black to be the one winning the pawns, so this game would only finish in a draw. Unfortunately for black, king f6 was played in the game, and after king f4 there's no way to save the game anymore. So after trying really hard to equalize, to find the right moves to come back into the game, unfortunately for him, now it is all over because white's king simply infiltrates through g5, and there's nothing to do about it. King g6 allows king e5 with the loss of the pawn, while going to e6 allows king g5, and white is much faster. Black doesn't have the ability to go even create some kind of counterplay, because after this that pawn can be captured and white wins. Black attempted king f6, but this is not going to be restricting move for white at all, because after g4 white has two further separated pass pawns and the game soon concluded. So I feel there was a very instructive endgame with a lot of chances to save the game. Unfortunately, last one was missed by black and it was all over. So what does this teach us? Remember to manage your time the best way you can, so that in the end you have sufficient time to choose the right moves that will help save the game when you need it. It's of course much easier said than done, but it is something that I hope you take from this endgame example. Without further ado, let's get into round 6. I know a lot of moves have been played, so I've been waiting for them so that we can catch up on some interesting opening ideas. So on board 1, we have the only 2 players with 5 out of 5. Those are Srikar Kandikayala and Brian Lin. I've mentioned this yesterday at the end of the stream. And now we're actually seeing that game. The players looks like they chose the 4 knights variation of the Sicilian with bishop c5. Personally, I like to play this bishop e4 line, but it looks like Brian went for bishop c5. This is a nice idea as well. The difference between bishop e4 and bishop c5 is that the bishop will put pressure on f2 and as opposed to pinning the knight in c3. Now, a lot of the times white is going to try to take control over d6, so they'll play bishop f4. An alternative would be to play knight d6, but similarly to when the bishop is in b4, black's best response is to play king e7. And we're not worried about bishop f4 because now e5, knight f5, the king does go to f8. I know it looks a bit suspicious temporarily, seeing that king on the edge of the board, but it is truly the right placement of the king. With this bishop under attack, white has to move it, and then black finds a pretty decent development set up. That king is going to be perfectly safe there. It's going to make its way either to h7 or maybe left alone on f8 and push the h-pawn to free up the rook and build up some kind of attack with the rook on that side of the board. The game didn't proceed as such. Instead, bishop f4 was played here. Castle, bishop c7. This is quite a spicy line, I'd say. Queen e7. Spicy from a positional standpoint. This is my kind of spicy lines. These are my kind of spicy lines because I like some kind of domination effect, restricting effect against the opponent when I have the chance to do so. And queen d6, I think it's kind of a nice idea for white. Queen d8, long castle, okay. And now we have to see how black will develop. On the long run, you know, that pawn in d7 will be troublesome, so black really has to find some activity to get out of this, passive like situation. So Brian goes for knight e7, knight e8, avoids the trades, and now is ready to push white's queen away so that he can eventually develop. I think d6 is an alternative here, but maybe he doesn't want to rush with putting the pawn on a dark square where his bishop will not be able to defend it. b5 takes, and we are in this position. What is the best move, you ask me? I don't know just yet. I don't know if the point is to, I think it is to give up that pawn and then maybe rearrange, or maybe play d5, but it's a bit too soon. Maybe bishop a6 is an idea. First, maybe we also have possibilities with knight c7, potentially trying to trade the knight. Might be a bit too soon. But I kind of like bishop a6 because, after all, it is very important for black to proceed with the development, and that bishop is not happy there. So bishop a6, putting additional pressure, maybe queen b6, followed by the knight from e8 coming into play. I think black's going to have a pretty nice initiative-like position. Let's move on to board 2, where Megan is facing Jane Arman, and Megan is generally playing for knights as well, and looks like that's what happened in this game. This is one of those sharp variations. I think I've seen Megan play this line last year in the Super Nash, or maybe some other year, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. c4, bishop b4, king e2. Everything is theory so far. If you're wondering, the attempt of black to build threats on white's king is generally stopped by king e2, or else if you play a move like bishop d2, you're going to allow queen e3, and there will be loss of material here. So you have to be very careful with white the way you respond to this. So bishop b4 is met by king e2, f5, and now en passant. Black recaptures with the knight, and now bishop e3. Okay, looks like the nice kind of approach. I like that she played f5 directly, by the way. Bishop a6 is sometimes a move that black plays first to push white's king away further to f3. But sometimes that bishop can be utilized somewhere else. Maybe we want the king in e2 so that white is restricted with the development of that bishop. So she plays f5 directly. Now, an alternative for white is actually knight f2 here, but it does allow bishop a6, and we can transpose to the previous lines suggested. Takes, bishop e3, queen d8. Okay, knight e6. Still theoretical, but although white seems to have followed this and gone for a pretty good line, it looks that somewhere along the way they lost. They were surprised by some move, because the time difference is pretty big at this point. Half an hour, well, 20 minutes is quite something. So we'll return to this game, but I like that white stayed with the bishop there, but we have to see where white's going to find a safety net for this king. The rook obviously is going to go to d1. The king generally kind of hides away here, but I don't know if we need to play h3 or something in this position, because I think it's important to keep the king as safe as possible. Okay, Arabella is playing against Phineas Weingarten, and the two players are following a main line of the Gioco Pianissimo so far. A lot of people go for this bishop e3 line. As a preference for white, I prefer bishop b3, followed by d6, and then knight d2, and those long lines where white plays h3, followed by rook e1, knight f1, and builds up some attack towards the king side. I think this line is nice as it trades the bishop in c1, which oftentimes is struggling to find a spot, but in the same time it helps black trade their bad bishop. So it has pluses and minuses, but generally I'd say I prefer it for black. If I'd play with the black pieces against the Italian and my bishop would be traded, I think I would be quite happy. Obviously, the downsides for black is the fact that the rook is in a7, and in some cases you have to remember that you actually move the rook there and you cannot protect anything, because it has happened to me at some point. I thought I can recapture, and then I forgot I never had the chance to bring my rook back to a8. So just remember, you need to bring your rook back should the trade happen in a7 and you're not the one who actually took in d3. Moving on to the next board, we have Queen's Indian here between Ishan and Ethan. Ethan is making his way back to the top, being on 4 points out of 5, coming back with a victory yesterday. Bishop takes g2. Okay, so far everything seems pretty normal here. White needs to retreat. Now, there are two options for white, knight d3 or knight f3, which one to choose. I think f3 makes the most sense, knight d7, and generally white breaks through with e4. So if you do choose to capture, queen takes, this pawn is going to be white's target, and yeah, white has double pawns, but you also have the weakness in e6. If black doesn't respond with the capture after e4 and attempts playing g5, let's say, to support f4, I think white captures and then rook e1. And the idea is that because we have opened up a file, it's not so easy anymore for black to build up any kind of attack on white's king. So the important thing is when someone is building up an attack on one side of the board, you need to find a way to break through in the center. You need to find a way to put pressure somewhere else on the board to distract them from the attack on your king. And that's basically what I'm expecting from white in that position. White, however, seems to have chosen knight d3 as opposed to knight f3. So that means that e4 ideas are delayed for the time being. And after knight d7, I presume white is planning on going knight f4. But that's not going to stop black from building the attack with g5. So we might see some kind of closed down position like this, where white might attempt activating the knight there. But they will have to face some attack. Okay, e4 can stop a lot of things, but we'll see. We'll see how white chooses to proceed further. Moving on to board 5, we had Larsen, b3 first move, and white attempts to play some kind of, well, just Larsen basically. No Pirk with reverse colors. No second fianchetto, just one fianchetto, and playing cautiously, and eventually I'm sure there will be some breakthrough somewhere. a6. As a plan for white, I'm anticipating knight d2, knight b3, putting some pressure. Maybe rook e1, maybe h3 to stop bishop g4 so that we can move over the bishop. The pressure should be on d4 in my opinion, because that's the weakness that we're dealing with. We don't want c3, that would allow the weakness of the pawn in d3, so we want to try to find a way to win that d4 pawn if possible. I presume queen c1 or queen d2 and attempting to bring the queen on this side of the board would help white to put additional pressure, so it's gonna be a game. So we have another Smith-Morra, kind of, not really fully, more like a mix between Smith-Morra and Checover, as the queen recaptures in d4 immediately. We're not staying down a pawn. VJ has unfortunately lost the game yesterday in one of the rounds, as he stayed down a pawn, and that was not really helpful. Though he has fought his way back into the game, I was almost winning, unfortunately. Missed the chance to convert and eventually lost the game. But is finding his form back to the top. Hopefully for him. Okay, knight d5 and okay, double knight trade and c3. I actually really like this move, very prophylactic, like restricting the bishop in e5, not rushing for c4. We can play c4 anytime. There's no pressure on the d5 pawn, so why mess up our position for that, right? We have ideas with bishop h6, bringing in the rook, and then maybe some attacks towards the king side. e7 pawn is backwards as well, so white can consider building up some pressure there too. It's still early to say what's going to happen here, but we'll definitely be back to that game. We are dealing here with what potentially was a London system transposed into something with g6, some king's, I don't know, Catalan-like position with reverse colors. g6. I've seen a lot of people attempting to play this and switch over against the London, and it's kind of an interesting idea, I think, because, you know, a lot of the times when people learn systems, they are focused only on what they want to do. And I think that stops someone from truly becoming more creative. It is very important to understand your ideas, but also be mindful on the various setups that the opponent can choose as well, because depending on the setup that you choose, you are going to have to play differently and react differently in a position. So now that black has played g6, obviously white will not have any kind of mate on that diagonal, right? Just to give you an example. Yet white still chooses to play bishop d3, which in my opinion is not really correct. You have to place the bishop in e2 if you're going to place it anywhere, or maybe wait one more move with knight d2 first, and after bishop to g7, think on whether you want to take this bishop out to e2 or b5. b5 could be a nice idea as well, or maybe you can consider grabbing the pawn and seeing how is black, asking black to find a way to get it back. For example, if they go knight d7, you can think of knight b3. So instead of developing the bishop, you can take advantage of a little bit of, I don't want to say initiative, this is not really initiative, but just take advantage of a little tactical idea that's present, because as they say, you cannot really get every single thing in all the positions, right? So black gets a slightly better placed bishop, gets to avoid an attack, but takes the bishop away from protecting c5. So that gives us a new idea, right? So in my opinion, bishop e2 or takes are things to be considered for white here, following along with the same kind of path as you are taught to play in the in this London position with a fianchetto bishop in g7 is not ideal in my opinion. So anyways, here, oh sorry, that is the current position. So we are black defense c5 very nicely. So we'll be back to see what to expect further there. Okay. I see a lot of ladies have made it to the top DGT boards. That makes me happy. It's always nice to see more girls playing in these competitions and battling it out, fearless, and continuing their chess journeys. So kudos to that. Keep working. You got this. h6, h3, rook e8. Okay, this is theory. This is very much theory. I used to play this myself as white. h6 is not really a typical move that black would play, particularly here. But the idea is as follows. So there's this line. I'm trying to figure out what it is, how it was exactly. There's a line with knight g4, bishop g5, f6, bishop d2. No, this is not the one I'm thinking of. Well, this is a line, but this is not the one I'm thinking of. There's another line where white plays knight g5 after black plays f5 and attempts to come to e6. So h6 is a move that would stop that. So like sometimes when black plays c6, d5. I wonder if it's here or somewhere else. No, because this is not the one. But there's a line. So generally, h6 is against placing the knight there. Hi there, Challenger Duke. I don't know if you guys are trolling me or not. You know I don't like to be called Sabrina. I don't understand. Why does everyone do it? Why does everyone do that to me? Don't say it was autocorrect. I will not believe it. I will not. I refuse to believe it. Sabina gets autocorrected to Sabrina. Queen c2 takes here. Bishop f3. Yeah, see, if you played h3, f3 doesn't make sense. You're weakening the position way too much. So bishop here. And generally black follows through with pressure on e4 like this somehow. And sometimes they play a5 to avoid b4 being played, and rook e1. There's a lot of preparation going on. If you don't want to play a5, you could also play here, try to trade the knight, and then bishop e6, rook d8. There are various ways both sides can try to improve here, but it's still early to say who's better. Still, the players are still just coming out of the opening. So we have an interesting Caro-Kann here. This, I like to call this the Gurgenidze line. So black is, under different move orders, you can actually get this. So black doesn't start out as a Caro-Kann, starts out as a modern, and then play c6 as an attempt to play d5. Now, you can attempt to play bishop c4 to stop the d5 from happening, but generally, black can push your bishop away and then like play a5 and b4 and try to get a little bit of initiative on that side of the board. I've tried those things myself. If you want to make sure you'll get d5, you probably should play on a move order like this and then play d5, because white doesn't have sufficient control over the d5 square. But here we have the Gurgenidze system, f6. So when you think into the bishop here, right? So you are playing a mix between modern and the Caro-Kann. You don't really have the ability to take the bishop out in f5. I mean, you do, but you have to be careful not to have it trapped, because g4 is going to chase it away, and you cannot retreat to g6 where you normally would in the Caro-Kann. So the point is that in these situations, since the bishop cannot be developed and h3 was played, so bishop g4 is not possible either, black generally attempts to attack the center with f6. That way, puts pressure in e5, and the goal for black is to find a way to open up that bishop. Knight h6 and castle. Black is creating some kind of defensive defensive system around his king, and now we'll proceed with, well, that wasn't gonna be what I was gonna say. So generally we are trying to do something on this other side of the board, and black delays the capturing for a little bit longer, and tries to find a way to play c5. So I don't know if this could be an option, or sometimes e6 is something that they do. Sometimes they take, as it happened in this game, and they might play e6 to play c5 later, because you do need to play c5 and try to give yourself a little bit of extra space. Oh, white castle short. That's surprising to me. I didn't expect short castle. I would expect this. Or maybe queen e2, get the bishop out somewhere, long castle. Short castle is interesting. Maybe check. And then c5 could work. Okay, c4 is not a mistake. The idea is c4 tries to attract black to play here so that white can get those two nice outposts. So knight g3, knight there, and this knight might make its way to d3. It's going to be a great placement for the two knights. One going towards some kind of an outpost there, another one putting pressure on c5. So there's definitely a lot of things to look up to basically in this position as white. So this is the reason why after c4 black does not want to push. The pawn needs to stay there. There's no real threat yet, so we have to think. Generally we want to follow through with a development like this, but maybe we have something even better than that. This seems a bit passive. Looks like white was lucky. Black pushed the pawn, and now those two squares are going to be totally white's. I wonder if g5 is an option. I kind of like it. Maybe this is not yet. Okay, not yet. Maybe we should take. Just take the pawn. Maybe this is the reason. Yep, looks like it would have been the right choice for black. Just take the pawn, offer the queen trade, and then bring in more pieces to put pressure in the center. Give white some time to figure out how to get the pawn back. I mean, generally they'll try to do something like that, but you know, no worries. We will proceed with some development, or maybe queen c7 so that we can play b6, bishop e7, and such. That could work. Okay, well, d4 was played, so I'm anticipating knight g3 and bring the knight to the center. On board 10, another Smith Mora, similar fashion. Now the queen goes back to d3. I kind of like this move. I mentioned it yesterday too. The queen has a bit of flexibility to switch over to the other side of the board and keeps the pawn protected. But g6 is definitely one of those responses that you want to have with black so that you're restricting all kind of attack towards your king. So we're pretty good with black here. All right. Bishop e2. Yep. We've seen this before. c3. Let's hope these two players. This is exactly the same as where was it? The Jays game. Okay, well, looks like it changed a bit. Black didn't go for whatever. Queen b6 was the move that was played in that game. Black ended up going for this. Okay, so we have a little bit of a change finally in this game. I remember, obviously this is not happening on site, but I remember some tournament years ago. There were two players that were like there were two boards that had the same opening. They were playing next to one another, and the stronger players were with the opposite colors, and then their opponents were making, you know, the grandmaster moves. So at some point, one of the grandmasters was this is how the story goes. One of the grandmasters was not happy with that happening. Didn't know if that was on purpose or really the other knew the theory that well, or every single one of their opponents knew the theory that well. So they had to move to different boards to make sure that doesn't happen. And you know, in a way, it's hilarious for us to say that story, but like, that's not okay. You should be playing your own game, and making sure, you know, you try to make the best moves possible. Just because you're trying to follow a grandmaster's game, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make the best move, So hey, work out your own lines, and you're going to be advancing much faster and improving much faster. This is looking pretty normal up to this point. Why did white decide to play knight there? That pawn is going to be lost. The knight needs to go back. Okay. Yeah, this position is... I definitely would take this position for black because we have more space. It's like a French with reverse colors. And black has completed development. And we'll have some ideas to start marching and improving on the king side. So as for white, it's difficult to really tell. These two bishops are very strong controlling the c file. So even if you take here at some point, the pawn will recapture. And the thing is that this file is opened, but there's no counterplay for white. So if white will go for f3 in that case and a capture will happen, then this pawn will be weak and black will be able to put additional pressure. So it is very important to be careful about what pieces you trade and in which circumstance you trade them, because sometimes you're actually helping your opponent. Without the knight in d7, black's bishop is out and actually doing something. Had the knight been still on d7 for black, things would have been more difficult. Black would have to waste a little bit of time to move the rook over, move the knight to f8, get the bishop out. That would take time. During that time, white could do something. But now I think it makes sense why the bar there is darker. So black is the one with the extra advantage. Okay. This seems like a very, very nicely good move kind of game for both sides. Black has a bit more space and white is just trying to maintain the pressure. I like the placement of the rooks, ready for at some point making the decision to take. Obviously not yet. It's nice to have the knight in e5 supported, but if there's a need, we can often retreat, knight d3, knight f3, and then consider taking and creating two hanging pawns. For the time being, it's fine the way it is. With the queen in a4, we're also delaying the movement of the rook because a7 will be hanging. So white is set up a good position and, is maybe waiting a little bit to see how black is considering to try to improve. If no improve happens, well, maybe the game will end in a draw, but you know how it is these days. We all make mistakes at some point. Okay, so we had a Pirk in this game between Nirvan and VS. This is one of those ideas that I often tell my students to be mindful about when there's a possibility to grab the pawn in the center and play d5. Simplifying sometimes can help black. c3, and now we have some kind of a, I don't know, Caro-Kann / Scandi pawn structure with the fianchetto bishop in g7. Now white doesn't seem to mind losing the bishop pair, which surprises me. I would probably go back to c2, and then, obviously the bishop is not doing great on the diagonal, but that's not the only available diagonal where that bishop would do something. This would be a nice diagonal too, and it would support for the push of, c4, d5 maybe or something. So I would definitely keep the bishop if I were white. I mean, maybe he thought he's gonna place the knight in e5 and it's really more like an equal position, to be fair here. Wait, Vladimir Chesbro, is that his actually name? That's a pretty cool. That's a really cool name. Chesbro. I like that name. I really do. I finally see an O'Kelly. He's a chess bro. Come on, he plays the O'Kelly. Brilliant. I haven't seen O'Kelly in a while. It was my childhood opening. I mean, I've seen a lot of games by Onur, and you know, he's done pretty well. He's done pretty well, and yeah, I don't know, but I like Vladimir's name, so I don't know whom I'm rooting for in this game. Not that I generally root for someone, but the plans for black are generally to get that d5 in. A lot of the times you cannot do it immediately, especially now that the pawns are doubled. White will probably play c4 at some point to stop d5, but if you play c4, then the bishop will be restricted. So black a lot of the times is happy if white plays c4. They stick to d6, bishop e6, place a rook on the c file, and then put pressure. So there's a lot to look forward to in this game. We'll be back. We will be back, especially because of the cool name. I wonder if he changed the name or if that was the name from the beginning. And now you can say what goes on through a mind of a chess player. Like, you don't care about the game as much as you care about the cool name. We need to make some jokes too, right? It's still morning, you know, Sunday morning. A good day to relax, enjoy some chess, and well, not for the kids, they have to play, but we get to comment on the games and hopefully not feel heartbroken by some moves. I know it's the curse of a commentator in a way. I think that you want all these brilliancies to happen, but you cannot take sides, and you just it's tricky. It's tricky, the life of a commentator, I think. And these moves are very I'm not happy, sorry. I'm going back. Queen b3 is not a move that white generally plays here. So that was the first moment of being puzzled, personally. Because generally I like a3 for white. Here. a3 is I think what I would recommend my students to play. If they had to. Bishop d3, these lines are, you know, becoming quite popular, so it's the Milner-Barry gambit. White gives up the pawn in d4. Obviously, we cannot grab it. I mean, we can grab it, but black will play bishop d7, and you know, we'll just let the pawn slide. But the idea is white gets a little bit of faster development. Black is still struggling to find you know, development for that bishop. Just d7 is going to be passive. These two pieces are kind of entangled. You need to get the knight out first. Where do you put it? Because now with the d file opened, if you put it in f5, there is a chance white will consider taking it. So you need to put it in g6, and then when you bring the knight to g6, white has these ideas. So black will have to find a way to play f6, and then by pushing f6, this becomes weak. So there's a whole spiel about how white is going to play this, despite the fact that they give up a pawn. So, you know, for those who are more aggressive and are looking for, you know, a line against the French, I think the Milner-Barry gambit is quite an interesting one. Now, Queen b3, the reason I've been going back and forth is trying to understand The reasoning behind it, I mean, generally I'd just be tempted to just take the queen as black and then take here and get the position that happened the other way around, where white was the one who took in b6. But black allowed the capture in b6 himself, and I mean, those pawns could be targets later on, and white has more space, so this is the reason why I'm not a fan of allowing that to happen. But and also I don't like this idea, because why give up the good, this is a good bishop. Black, it's black's heart of the game. Like, no, please do not give it up. Knight e7, knight f5, leave the bishop there. At least wait for them to play a3, move the rook, and then you can take, you know, if you put it there anyways. I don't know why he didn't take the knight out first, or maybe f6 first. I would have liked f6 the most. Just break through, open, and, you know, the bishop does look much better in d6 in my opinion. So, plus it controls c7, which is something that white can, you know, consider bringing the knight to b5, and then c7 is going to be a targeted square, so that way at least, you know, we could be safe. The way the game was played, I'm feeling it's going towards white's favor, a little bit in white's favor. I mean, yeah, without knights, without the knight going to b5, there's not much, but white still has a bit more space, and not that many pieces have been traded. Interesting idea to try to bring the knight here, but this could be a plan for white. I wonder if this works. It might be too slow, because black can try to get rid of the bishop and protect the pawn. Yeah, that's, bring the bishop here might not have been a wise decision, because now if the bishop is attacked, you have to go to a3, which will get it stuck there for a while. So I think white may have to take, and I'm not liking that decision. So I think, actually, why didn't white take with the pawn? Wouldn't that be better? Ah, no, there's no b5. Is there? Is there b5? This is a typical idea to remember. So you can't really win the pawn, but yeah, maybe black can play b5 before. Okay. So, still equal the position, despite my uncertainty. It is quite equal. Torre. The Torre attack again, the bishop in d3. No. No. Please. Please, coaches, don't teach kids to put the bishop there. It doesn't help for so many reasons. First of all, the bishop doesn't do anything. And e5, e4, oh my goodness. I've had even a 1900 fall for, or not 19, like close to 1800 student fall for that idea recently. So trust me, trust me on that. The bishop is safer in e2, much safer. A lot of the times with the bishop in f4, I get it, the bishop is in g5 now, but if the bishop were in f4, e5 coming in with tempo, e4 fork, it's not the safe kind of approach that you want to deal with. Okay, so we have the London setup, or more like a Reti style. That cannot be a good choice by black. Black should not play that. It gives the outpost for no reason. Black's okay here. Maybe this, rook c8. Okay, nice. And you'll have to be mindful for potential sacrifices. Now the bishop will have to stay there, or else maybe we'll take and queen e6 and some mates somehow. I'm predicting that for this game. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Like, hopefully not, but ah, black decided to give up the bishop. Okay, I guess, well, my sacrifices might not happen, but you never know. Okay, the knight has been traded. No more sacrifices. Okay. What is happening here? Too many trades. Too many trades for my liking. The I know the position is not opened, but you know we like our bishops. We like to keep our bishops. This is the way that you are improving a bishop. You're looking at the diagonal where it's looking towards, and you're trying to find ways to open that diagonal up by weakening the chains that the opponents have created. Also, bishop c2. I mean, maybe he didn't need to rush there yet. I wonder if he could have tried queen f3. If you go knight e4, bishop f4, something like this looks nice. Okay, so white finally goes for my idea, but I really wish I had the bishop. Look, if black had played h5 with a bishop here, ooh, we could have some sacrificial ideas, right? So we play queen g3, consider capturing, bringing in the rook. Now we cannot do that. Okay, so we have a delayed Vienna. f5 might have been played a bit too soon because it takes away options for white to capture in e5. But it stops knight g4, so it has pluses and minuses. g6 might create some weaknesses for black. I think if I were white, I'd consider taking. Oh, this. Oh, I forgot about queen h4. Apologies, thousands apologies. No, we cannot do that. See, I got to the point where I only thought about the opponent making the move I wanted, which I was gonna do something like this, but queen h4 is still a thing. So, no, thank you. We are not doing that. Okay. So, what is the best move? Queen rook f1. Rook f1. You can still take, and I think, we'll take back with the queen. We'll be very happy if that happens. We need the knight here to keep the king safe. I totally forgot about it. Well, what about knight g3, though? Rook f2, I think. Do we have something better with white? Not really seeing much. Queen h4. Black is building some pressure, and black is the lower rated. Check this out. Queen f2 check. Okay. Gain the material back. White's king is safe for the moment, for the time being. But material is not safe. h3 is hanging. Black is probably going to castle long, I presume. That was not really necessary. I think he could have castled long. I would have castled long first. There's no... I mean, we're happy if he takes. We'll recapture with the bishop, and then we're bringing in another piece looking towards white's king. Yeah. Looking good for black. Queen is sliding over to b4. And we're going to see potentially some mates. So that's definitely a game to be on the look for. On board 18, which is the second board in the under 1400 section, we have another kind of torre or exchange variation at this point. Looks like an exchange Slav or something. Very symmetrical. Wait, could white have won a pawn here? You know, I had this happen to me recently. Okay, the question is, do we take an h7 or queen h5? So let's test this out. Yeah, this is great. I had something like this happen to me really, really recently. So that's definitely, if you take with the pawn, it's even worse. I think it's close to mate. Like it's definitely happening. There's no way to defend. A very powerful combination. Queen with 2 minor pieces is very hard to stop. So the bishop has to take. Okay, after bishop h7, maybe black doesn't need to take and could go to f8, but white has won a pawn and the game goes on. We can just capture, move the bishop, or not even. Maybe queen h5 anyways. Threatening f7, he has to take. And, well, a pawn is a pawn. You can take here. Knight f3. Threatening rook b1. This looks good for white, like really nice. Really nice. But looks like white missed it. Now that you play knight f3, you'll have to take something to put the other knight in e5 for the queen to get opened. I think, wait. No, this kid is not 2300. I think it's a mistake. This this pawn is protected now. Yeah, now black has to recapture with the rook, and when we go there, he might move over. And now it's not exactly the same thing, because you see, if we take here and he recaptures, we only have pressure on h7. f7 now is covered by the rook. That's why when given the chance, you have to take it, or else you might not have the opportunity to do so again. Looks like they might be going for that line, but it's about equal. This game seems to be really close to finishing, so let's see what have we missed. It was a Dutch. Very normal setup by white. Though, generally, I don't like to play d5 when putting the bishop here. I would probably consider playing h3 to retreat with the bishop. Maintain the control, but I don't want my bishop to be pushed back like that. There are chances to lose it. Oh? Interesting. White was probably hoping for this. Not to do this, because this is a problem, right? Queen h5 doesn't do anything, h6, but to do this in between move. Attacking the queen, and probably black has to sack the queen here. And I don't know what's the best recapturing, but black should be okay. But maybe white thought they would be fine, but black just took, which is even better. I think this was in order. First, chase the queen away, and then play f4 to trap the bishop. What did this allow? I think the g6 again or something. Ah, bishop d3. Bishop d3, and likely white would have potentially something good happen. Where's the perpetual? Because if I check, there's king g7. Ah, maybe not knight e4. Okay, a white would save this. So now after h4, maybe black can just go back, and if you go bishop h2, we'll take. Black is really... Board 406 is someone you can check or not. I don't know what... Can you tell me which one it is from the link pinned? Can you tell me the names or something? I don't know board numbers like that. Can you see if Alex Alanis? I don't find it. I can't find it. What section is that under? can check out the chess.com link here, or I'm sure you're checking like results for the pairings and everything. Ah, that's under 900. I just found no. Unfortunately, we don't have under 900. I'm sorry. So we have 12 boards in the championship section, 4 under 1700 and 4 under 1400. I wonder if you asked me about that same person yesterday. There was someone who asked me about another section. Unfortunately, we don't have any DGT boards for the under 900 section. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, yeah. But I see that Alex has 5 out of 5, so that's pretty good. Hopefully he keeps up. Yeah, sure. So bishop h6, just a nice prophylaxis to go for the pawn. Black attempted to win the pawn this way, but now they might be the ones in trouble. No, why didn't he go to d2? h6. This bishop is opened. The king in e2 is not. You always want to try to avoid placing pieces in the way of other pieces, especially with the king. King being in front of a piece that hasn't developed, it's not really ideal. Because now we'll have to move the king again to get the bishop out. Okay. This might allow e4. Not e4. Knight f6, apology. Knight f6. Just chase the queen away. This is a nice idea. He's thinking to go e4, rook g3, but black is trying to take over now a bit. Doubling up on the f-file may have been a potential improvement idea here. Uh-oh. White allowed for bishop f5. Oh. Now he lost the rook. So after having so much pressure, white is now the one trying to defend. This was a tough blunder. This was a tough blunder. But I feel like white needs to try to get the rook into play somehow, or maybe move over the bishop and rook f2, keep that pawn covered. But earlier I was just trying to figure out what was the fastest way after knight d7 for white to improve. Because originally I thought knight g5 is the move, but hi there, North is down. Different Nakamura. Different Nakamura person. Final day of the tournament. Yes, 2 rounds today. This one, and then there will be another one at 2 p.m. Eastern time. No, 3 p.m. Eastern time. 2 p.m. Central time. The kids have a little bit longer time today to in between the rounds. I wonder if this would have worked. It's not, for some reason. I don't know what reason yet. Maybe knight f6. And now we can take and we escape. So knight f6 is a serious threat that needs to be stopped. Maybe queen h4, but queen h4 doesn't really stop it. How can we stop knight f6? It's all because of this bishop being so sad. Maybe we should just play here, but knight of 6. We're losing the edge. There's a move that stops it. There's a move that doesn't take knight f6 into account. Just queen back, maybe queen h3. Worse than the one I saw earlier. What if we trade queens, like just like that? We're still not up anything at this point. It's kind of annoying a bit not to be up anything. Found it. Yes. Let's go. Same idea, but in h4 because this square is controlled by the queen. So this would have been the right win for white. Tough one. Now at the end, black is up a rook and very likely will be able to win in the end. And lastly, the final board that we have on a DGT, board 4 in the under 1400 section, has brought us an interesting Caro-Kann gambit. I have no idea what just happened. I don't think I've ever seen bishop c4 here. It looks interesting. Certainly looks like it's looking... looks as if white is building pressure on f7. Sometimes I say these things. g4, bishop h7, f5. Beautiful kind of restrictioning of the bishop, but lots of pawn pushes, and the king is still here, and no development. I don't know how I feel about this interesting gambit. If we do something like this, black has to finally find a way to develop. It will be slightly better, but it's still kind of early to tell. Oh, okay. Queen g3 is the threat. White is panicking a bit. I'm not happy. I'm not happy with white's situation. If you go here, there'll be bishop d6. Black can even castle long, and there's no attack. White has wasted too much time making pawn pushes, didn't get to win any material, and hasn't developed, and doesn't have a safety place for the king. And with the center opening up, it's not the kind of thing that you want to see. Well, it's certainly looking like a very hard fought round, I would say, with ideas for everyone on all boards, going through them. It's been about an hour and a half since they started, so I think it's the right moment for me to take a short break. And I will be returning with reviewing the top boards, and we'll try to make sense of who has the most chances to win every single one of these competitions. Obviously, we have a few. We have the championship section. We have the under 1700, under 14, under 1100, under 900, 700, and unrated sections. So I'm definitely looking forward to catching up later. Unfortunately, we don't have extra games for the lower rated, only for the championship under 1700 and under 1400, but we'll stay with those. I will take around a 10-15 minute break, and we'll be back more energized for the last moments of this. Well, not the last moment, because it's going to be a middle game stage, more of the middle game stage of this round 6. So please stay close, and we'll be seeing you very, very soon. Hello, everyone. We are back. Let's see what we missed over the break. I made sure to post in the chat, by the way. I repost the links to the recaps from days 1 and 2. And if you happen to have missed those, you can definitely catch up with some of my favorite moments in the articles. And hopefully, you guys like them. I has spent a lot of time saving various positions. I'm sure JJ has saved them and will be posting them later on in the week. So stay tuned for Chess Life Online's posts with tactics and end games on Tuesdays and Wednesdays workouts. So you can catch up with some of the moments that maybe you missed during commentary. These streams will also be posted on YouTube, and the recaps I generally do at the beginning of each round are being posted as well. So if you are interested in catching up with those in the next week, I'm sure there will be all of them will be up there, so you don't need to just go to check the moments, but you can just follow along. And feel free to like it if you like it, or make a comment, and follow US Chess on social media to stay notified, or other platforms, not just here on Twitch, to stay notified when educational content is posted, announcements, tournaments, things related to becoming a tournament director, and so many other things. Highly recommend checking out other platforms of US Chess to be able to kind of have an idea of what to expect. Other than that, I just wanted to remind everyone that if you happen to be on site, you have the ability, and probably I should just show you here on the stream too, if you happen to be on site, just for a moment, as we are catching up with the games. So right now, obviously the game is in progress, but at 10 a.m. and it's gonna go throughout the day. You can catch up with the end of the Girls Club Town Hall meeting. This is the right moment to ask your questions and socialize and learn more about what the Women's Chess Committee is doing to continue to promote women and girls in chess. So that happens in Zambezi Nile Room at 11 a.m. So soon after, Grandmaster guest Julio Sadorra is going to have a lecture about facing chess giants. I'm sure that's going to be a very exciting lecture. So if you happen to be on site, don't miss the opportunity to stop by and say hi to him while there's an error. What error? Oh, it says PM. Yeah, it's AM. It's AM. This is AM. Don't worry. Don't worry. What? There's no such thing. There's no such thing. It's just the idea of supporting more girls to stay in the game. That's good. Yeah. So that is an error. There's an error there. And then later in the day at 1 p.m. you'll have the opportunity to stop by for book signing with Woman Grandmaster Jennifer Shahade. Later on, final chance. This is the time you want to remember, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Final chance to take on Grandmaster Julio Sadorra in Kalahari Ballroom E. So that is the schedule for the remaining of the event. I will remind everyone about it, but you can see all of this information on the official site with the games. Oh, come on, Beats. No, it's not like that. Please, don't worry. Don't worry. It's I don't know where you got that information from. I think generally the idea is to inspire more women to stay in the game, and and not feel intimidated. Okay, that is the goal. And as females, we tend to be sometimes struggling to socialize with one another. We feel a lot of pressure, I think. I can talk about myself, maybe others feel it differently, but growing up, I've often had this fear of not being included in things. Even to today, I have those moments where I'm not sure. So I think having the ability to see other women who have made it in the game, learning more about what they have done to improve, where did they find their inspiration. I wanna learn to be in an environment where women, find ways to support one another for continued growth. And it's no way trying to take anyone out of the equation, but just rather be inspiring towards one another. That's what the women's community and girls club room is for generally. So I'm sorry if you felt that it is meant otherwise. I think, yeah. All right. Let's go on to a more exciting topic. These games, because this is basically why we are here, to try to see who's going to win this year's K-8 grade championship. Brian last year has finished second in the Super Nationals in the 8th grade section. This time around, he's looking for maybe a 7-0. Right now, he's at 5-0. He seems to be having a pretty nice, I would say, position here. And Black is breaking through, following along with the typical theme of the Sicilian. And now, considering that White blocked in the position, Black, I think, definitely needs to find a way to put pressure on the c-file. Well, Machine, it's never too late. It's better later than never. That's what I like to believe. Better later than never. So, yeah. All right. Will we see a b4? Will we see knight b4 sacrifices and stuff? How does White plan on defending? Because stuff like this will be met with some knight b4s. Or should Black play b4, bishop b5? This looks nice. The problem for White is that they don't quite have an easy way to actually open up the position on Black's king, because Black never pushed g6 or h6. So even if you get the chance to push g5, h5, g6, even in such situations, Black generally captures and plays h6, then the position is still locked in, and White will have to find a way for a sacrifice, which doesn't always happen easily. So that's kind of the approach that Black will have from a defensive standpoint. As for the attack, as I mentioned, like, I think c2 is definitely the targeted square. So we just need to figure out where this bishop belongs, because that is the piece that's bothering us. If only we could have played d4 and put the bishop, even giving up the pawn and put the bishop in d5, I think Black would be very happy, but it's not so easy to do that. Queen a2 is going to be an alternative solution to put additional pressure in c2, and Black's position is definitely more, I guess, easier to play, because we have like a clear path. We'll be back to this moment. So let's catch up with Megan's game. So the knight has made its way to d6, one Black's good bishop. But now, if we trade off to an endgame, even if White has the bishop pair, Black will get the chance to play d5. That might be a good thing. Did Black lose something here? Rook c1. What's the purpose of this move? I can't really see a purpose. I mean, d1 is the place. Ah, actually, I see the purpose now. Black was trying to support d5, and with this move, it's basically against d5 because we'll take, and then this pawn will be hanging. So this is basically white's idea, trying to avoid d5. White seems to be playing more for a draw, though, based on how I see the position getting locked in. This is a bit of too simple of a threat to play f5. Everything seemed kind of forcing here. But which one is better? The bishop or the knight? This pawn will eventually be lost. It's kind of easy to grab it. With rook c2, was king f3 really necessary? Is there something wrong with king e3? Probably, but what? What's the difference between those two? Don't tell me it's knight f5, because I think we can just take it. King e3 allows for something that king f3 doesn't. These moments always puzzle me, because you think you understand everything and then you don't. Maybe it's this idea. And if you play king f3, black has won a tempo. I mean, that's about all I can see. Maybe bring in the rook for pressure. So if we're here, it's just an extra move for black and we won't have time. Very likely. Do I have any students in this event? Not that I know of, actually. Nobody's told me that they're going. I've asked a few of my students to go. I haven't seen any of my students play this event this weekend for some reason. Many of them could, but they said it's too far, so they decided not to travel. But last one, I was super excited. I hadn't even realized one of my students actually finished with 6 out of 7. And I was like, oh wow, that's, it was in one of the under sections, but it was 200 rating points gain. And that made me so proud, because it's one of my girl students who's younger. I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've had that happen. The 200 rating points in a tournament by one of my students. Generally, it's like 50 or something. If it's good, maybe I've seen close to 100. But yeah, lately my students have done well, so that makes me happy, because you need to get some good news after so many bad news that I've received. It felt good to have something good happen from the past 2 weeks. So I'll take the gain. I'll take the gain. It was really a proud moment for sure. Yeah. Okay, so this is basically the difference. Now we're understanding it. So by the time the rook comes here, white will have time to take, whereas probably here we wouldn't have had the time, because after this, they would do this, and then they cover. So the rook comes in with with tempo. That's why the king has to be in f3. Now I understood. Yeah, Megan, I think she's a WIM as well. I don't know how many WGM norms she has. Maybe 1 or 2. I lost track at this point, so I don't know where she's at right now, but yeah, definitely she's improved a lot. I believe she's in 7th grade right now, so she has 1 more year of this. Well, yeah, the elementary there weren't so many, but here they are. And as I said in another stream, in another round, I'm happy when I see title players coming into these tournaments. I think they themselves are an inspiration to other kids their age who maybe haven't worked as hard on chess, or maybe have started chess later, or simply don't have as much passion. Who knows? There could be various reasons why you're not at a certain level. And I think seeing other kids their age, it's also an inspirational kind of moment for them. Like a lot of the times, what I appreciate about U.S. chess tournaments is that there's often uh, at least 3-4 guests, grandmasters invited or title players invited, also in the girls' club room, to be there, interact with the kids, give them the chance to play against them, have a lecture, answer questions. And I think also all of the US chess staff is also very kind to answering questions in these tournaments. I know sometimes it's difficult to know what kind of tournaments to have your kids compete in, what kind of time controls, what are some special etiquettes that my kids should have for these tournaments. And sometimes you're just going on without having the knowledge, and then going to a big tournament like this, I think it's the right place to learn new things, get a new perspective, see how other people train, see how they're going with their coaches, how they have game analysis post game, preparation potentially pre-game. There's a lot of things that maybe you're not aware of as a parent. So having the opportunity to compete in these tournaments and just having the chance to meet a top player, or ask questions from US chess staff and volunteers, certainly, and tournament directors too, of course, certainly helps a lot. So yeah, I personally appreciate the amount of work that's put to try to get them better and better and improve each time for the kids. Also, I love that on site there are some of the sponsors for the tournament, Silver Knights, GT Anywhere, and Invisalign. I noticed they have their booth, so kids can go and have their games analyzed by a title player. Like I've seen for Silver Knights, they have a couple of coaches. For Invisalign, Doctor and Women's International Master Carolina Blanco is there. She's the face of Invisalign, partnership with US Chess, and she's there analyzing games. And I believe GT Anywhere also has a booth where they analyze games. So all of these things, help develop the kids' journey and give them, I think, a better overall experience to such events that otherwise they might not have in their hometown. So it's something that hopefully inspires more players to play, more title players, and then those who are not titled to find inspiration to work harder to get those titles. Yeah, so I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Rose, and she mentioned to me that she considers herself a professional player. She's homeschooled, and a lot of her time is spent on working on chess aside from learning things for school. She's also focused on getting better at chess, spending a lot of time training, playing tournaments online, and just overall just developing her chess travel. She's she's mentioned she's thankful for her family for being supportive and taking her to a lot of tournaments. And yeah, she has big goals of becoming a grandmaster, and why not world champion. So I hope she gets to continue that path and never loses her passion for chess, because she's certainly a very talented young lady who brings a lot to our US team. Okay, so do we expect Megan to have some chances to win here? I'm not so sure, but she does have the knight, which will be a great strength. We gotta bring it maybe towards d4. The problem is she does have that pawn being locked in on a light square, which might keep her passive. So now with the trading of the rooks, I'm not sure how easy it will be for black to actually improve if one of the pieces will be bound to stay to protect g6, right? This bishop will have to switch its diagonal for this one, and I'm not sure black has winning chances anymore. All right, let's catch up with this game. Knight h5 allows knight f5. I wonder if h3 would have worked, because you cannot take. Oh, I missed. I thought I'm winning. I thought this had to happen and I'm winning, but I forgot that I'm getting mated. Ouch. Ouch. Almost fell for that. All right. Well, that doesn't work. It's a nice idea. See how immediately I see these geometrical patterns? Obviously not the threats for the opponent. I'm telling you to stop and think, but I sometimes don't do it. It's not good. Okay, so what's a better approach for white here to put additional pressure? It's tough. I know what you mean, Machine. Maybe knight f1, but I don't think it's really necessary. I mean, I don't want to drop this knight. If I play knight g3, it's just too passive. I kind of like the knight there, but I'm not really seeing... Maybe knight d3. Still loses the edge. I mean, I'm liking the knight to stay there, but I don't... How can we keep it there? Just queen c2 maybe? Just like that? Easy? Okay, well, bishop e2 was played, which allowed the knight to be brought to a slightly better location, but my concern is for the loss of the knight here and the pawn. But the thing is, you see, black has weakened the king side, and here the rook has moved to a7. So for black, the king will have to find the right placement. Like, obviously you'd want to do something with it. I don't think short castle will work anymore, so maybe black will be fine with the king in f8. But that is something you have to think about as the game progresses, because it's not going to be super safe for the king staying in the center. This game has allowed black to put a little bit of pressure. This is going to be the targeted spot, so when black is ready, they will consider taking on d4. There it is, d5, yes. So white had to give up the exchange here. This is good for black. But we are, white has a pawn for the exchange, but the pressure that black is putting, there are too many weaknesses. The rook is active. Black is definitely in the driver's seat there. So Ethan is making his way back to the top. This is the game where I felt a bit too many trades have happened. Yep, here comes another one. Queens got traded, and now black's position is slightly better due to white's really bad pawn structure with a bit too many weaknesses. I like that white took control over the file though, because at least it will take time for black to activate, but it you know, we need to have a bit of patience. We'll chase the knight away, bring in the king a bit closer maybe, and then double up on the file and try to target the pawn here. Black is slightly better, but it will take time for this game. White will have to stay at the defense and keep the pawn covered. White's position is much better here. This is a backwards pawn. I know I wasn't quite happy with VJ's attempts to trade some pieces, but I like the resulting position. Okay, now he wins material. What's the best way to win material now? Takes an f4 maybe? Chase the bishop away, and then white can choose between winning b6 or d6. The king has found its exit, and white is just on the way to winning. So this game is going towards white's victory very soon. It looks like we got a close position here. Generally, black is attempting to play b4, but didn't get the chance to, and now b4 is not going to be a solution anymore. So white is the only one who will have breakthroughs with g4 or e4. It remains to be seen how he chooses to do so. I'm not happy with f4 though. I think this is the right plan. Unless white wants to draw, which is possible. Closing down the position like this only shows me that white is only looking to draw this. But that's just my opinion. Hi, Eric. Oh, you miscalculated? Oh, what happened? Did you... the game just got drawn. Okay, now I see the rest of the moves. You miscalculated? Did you try to get a draw? Wait, you cannot play e4 here, what? You mean... you mean... Oh, okay, if you play f3... Oh, you thought that after h6? But, I mean, you always have this check, and the knight turns around. And, I mean, this is the only way if you're trying to play for a win, because you are the one who is better. You have a better bishop. You have, more space. No plan. No real good plan for black. So, yeah, I mean, f4 stops any kind of e5, but I don't know. Actually, could he have considered e5 here? I think you can still play e4. I'm kind of liking this. Black is not really ready to break through. And yet the position will open up, the bishop will open up, but white's pieces seem to be placed much better, and I don't think you need to be too worried about this h6 stuff. I don't know where he goes. And now, how do we capture? No. Ah, we capture here, sorry. Takes, knight c7. Yeah. Ah, or knight c7 directly, sure. Knight c7. Maybe he can sack the exchange. I think takes is probably better. Oh, really? There is? After f3, there's e4? Okay, I'm not looking with the engine, so I didn't... Ah, okay, this is a nice idea. Yeah. Okay, this is a nice idea, because then you take, and I like this idea. Thanks for pointing it out. I wasn't thinking about it. Ah, I see. Yeah, I mean, it's you played a pretty good game, like the beginning, I think. I mean, I wasn't super sure. Oh, one thing to mention. Okay, don't be upset that I mentioned this. Please don't put the bishop in d3 generally when they play g6 h7. I don't believe it helps. I don't believe it helps at all under any circumstance having the bishop there in these situations. I always like to put it in e2 in these situations. Like it's just safer. It's not about the engine or something. Yeah, I know, but like the London works well for systems with e6. For systems with g6, just the light square bishop just doesn't do anything on that diagonal anymore. The plan could still be there, but generally it doesn't work so great. So either put the bishop in e2 or you consider taking, and I think it's gonna give you more options as white. You're playing basically a Slav or a semi-Slav with reverse colors, or well, Catalan like, I guess you can say, and you're up a tempo. So I generally prefer these kind of setups, I thought, for white, if someone like just plays this line with g6, because I think against g6 and d5, not just g6, because against, you know, King's India style positions, London can work, but still, even in those, I think the bishop doesn't go to d3, but you will switch and you might play with c4, so that's different. But yeah, that is my opinion. After that, yeah, I think this is your best bet. I don't know what rook g8 was for, but just to stop, I guess, knight there. But your best bet would have been to break through, and you would have had some chances. Like, okay, don't feel bad. I mean, the game was pretty well played. I don't know which one of you is higher rated. Probably he is. So it's a good result, I guess. But yeah, positions like this, white is the only one who can try to play for win, in my opinion, because you have a better piece placement, and only one who can genuinely have some kind of idea from the break. Ah, okay, all right, because your FIDE shows wrong here, and I don't always double check. So I guess that's a good result. You just gotta try your best in the final round, finish on a positive note, and yeah. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying your time in there, and good luck in the final round. Thanks for stopping by. All right, goody. So we caught up with one of the players. That's more rare when that happens. Feels good. Feels good to hear their perspectives on the games, like brings a new perspective as to what they were thinking. Maybe it's something I didn't see. A lot of the times it's something I didn't see. Like that e4 idea he suggested was kind of nice, just dropping the knight temporarily. And yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next boards. What have we got here? Because I think the games will potentially, some of them will start finishing. They've been playing for 2 hours and 20 minutes. c5. No. It's easy to want to play that because you want to place your knight in d4, but you're also giving that square, and I don't think that is very wise. So I want to play this. And now what do we do? What is the right approach? I mean, I'm tempted to sacrifice the exchange. I really want to sacrifice, but I mean, we don't need to. We don't need to be that really that aggressive. Maybe white can switch over to the B file and just try to take control, but I mean, so can black and just try to trade. Maybe we don't go for that. We go queen. Oh, queen a6 was played. Okay, never mind. Maybe we go knight d2 and then still doesn't like it. Interesting. With rook b8 or what? Queen g7. Okay, so knight d5 was definitely it, and now maybe we can go knight c7, rook b8. Nah, doesn't do much. What is a good plan for white here? The queen needs to be improved, so I'm feeling maybe we can try to bring it in like this and bring it to h3 or g3 and then try to play some g5, maybe g3 and then try to play g5 knight f6. Take advantage of that king. It's not decisive or anything, but it is a plan. White went for the trade of the knight. But probably black will get some activity now. So it might have not been the wise thing to do because that pawn cannot really be won. A7 cannot really be won. So this knight is, yeah, without the knights, white still has pressure, but black will get activity on the b file. So probably it wasn't such a good decision to do that. What happened in this game? White is putting some pressure. This is a nice counter. Did white have time to take and take? I would have. This loses, right? After this. Or, sorry, takes and then that. Because you lose the bishop. So we need to take in f1 first and then... because this is a check bishop. So this maybe, and then this. Still, we take and we good. Or with the queen, actually. Sorry, with the queen. I like queen, rook d1. Okay, so what's... white played here and this didn't work? Is there knight h7? Because... queen... I know it's the right placement of the queen. I really wish this move worked, but it doesn't. Obviously, you lose the queen. But like, I wish it worked so we can push d7, d2 after. Where should the queen go? Maybe f6? Or e7, maybe? Still not. What, e8? No. Really? e8? No. I'm telling you, it's a sacrifice. I wish I could go to h4, but I can. I cannot. I guess here. I don't know what's the difference, to tell the truth. There's something after this, which is not that. I see. So the queen needs to stay on the d file, but not go somewhere where it's going to be attacked so that it can give a check and grab this. So probably after queen d7 you have to take, but then black can take the knight. Oh, wait, sorry. Maybe take with the knight and then still not. The rook? This is too messy for my taste. Because we just take and we're winning. Queen d4, bishop f2. And black somehow is winning. I don't quite understand how. Check. Queen e4. So I guess regardless of where you play, Queen e4 is just very unpleasant. And we are down a full rook here and a pawn, but it doesn't matter. Because this rook doesn't actually do anything and white's king. Wow, okay, this is deep. This one requires a lot of time to spend on. I don't know how much time the players have spent on that position, but that would have certainly been something to consider. Would check have helped? No, because bishop f2. Maybe just takes. Keep the pawn protected, threaten to take here and the knight. Ooh, that looks scary. Did that move allow some defensive resource? Like, no, that still allows the activity. There's a lot of back and forth here. It's a very complicated position for white to find defense for sure, because rook e2 is threatened. It's not easy to meet an attack on your king. And the queen is out of play. Like, it needs to make its way back into the play. The white queen, that is. And queen takes h3 is still an unpleasant move. Unless bishop g3 is the move. Wow. Not f2, but g3, so that queen takes h3 doesn't work. So probably what happens is, like, if you go here, now we go queen f1. Let's trade. And black's two minor pieces will be more powerful than the rook, I guess. And even if that pawn is that advanced. So bishop f2 probably allowed once again queen takes h3, which black missed. And now queen f1 finally comes to the defense. And bishop takes e5. Cute. This is like a nice defensive resource. Because if you trade queens, then obviously I'll take with the king. And you know, this pawn will be stopped by the rook, and it will be likely captured next move, because you don't have time to take the bishop. Okay, so black ends up in this endgame where they will be capturing the bishop, but white has 3 pawns for the exchange, so that should be more than enough to hold. Maybe he will even have some opportunity to improve further, but yeah. Okay. That was a very interesting position for sure. I'll spend more time analyzing because there are a lot of, you know, back and forth in that game. No, this was the game where I wasn't happy with so many minor piece trades, but it looks like black is trying a bit too much to improve the position, but what he ended up doing instead is just weakening all the king side. Now that those bishops will be traded, I want to see how black will defend that pawn. Okay, rook. I don't know if that was the best. Queen f1. Okay, the queen would go back. and then push, or maybe they'll trade and get into this endgame. This actually seems more reasonable for black. So rook g1 trades, queen takes. Now white might be attempting the trades of the queens eventually. Now that the rook is back, g4. Very nice play by white. g5 is going to be very unpleasant very soon. Actually, maybe it could have even been played. And if the queen goes there, the queen will eventually be traded off. Maybe there's even better. But you know that that's gonna what about this? Nah, it's too much. So white is not rushing though. Maybe now they can play g5. But there's also this idea. This idea that the engine doesn't like for some reason. Black will find some activity here. Or could we trade queens? But we're down material, so this doesn't need to be necessarily the thing. Queen g5 is even more unpleasant, so this first pawn falls. King g8 probably. King g7 may still allow g5 and makes white's way to the h file much easier because it's all with tempo. So queen takes, king g8. Maybe queen g5. White's got the pressure. And extra time. I'm seeing a victory for Julian here. This game looks like it was won by black, so let's see what happened. White closed down the position and both bishops, you see, when you have fianchettoed bishops like this, it's not ideal to lock down everything because the bishops don't do anything. And it's going to take time to find the right way to break through. Notice with the pawn pushed here, this is weak, so we cannot push and free up our bishop. So it is only black who plays for the advantage in this situation. You always have to look for the various opportunities of opening up the position, especially when you closed it down too much, because the only way you'll be able to play for a win is to enter in the opponent's territory, right? Reach their king. And with a closed down position, there's no way. Wow. Okay, this is a nice finish for black. Aw, cute. Bishop takes g3. Very nice. Very nice finish by Yang Shen. I like that. Let's play out the final few moves in this game. Okay, black has attempted some kind of mate, but why didn't he go for it? So at least he would have won some pawns. He thought he's distracting the queen, but ended up losing another pawn, and now white's king is totally safe. And if the queen has to move away, white is up 5 pawns. That's way too much. Nice try by black, but unfortunately, it was too much material loss. So they agreed on a draw here. Okay, white will attempt winning one of those pawns, maybe threaten something like this. But there's no mate. This is a decent, like, expected result. This is one of those games with a lot of reds. Uh-oh, black dropped h6. I like f4 personally. It's important to bring in a new piece into the game. Bishop g4 trades a piece that wasn't really that defensive of a piece. Again, f4 is very important for white to bring in this rook into the game. Very important. I guess he's retreating now, so... Okay, not here. Oh, Onur, what are you doing? But this was useful when the queen was on the h file, because the rook was coming in and could help with the mate. Now the queen is on the same file as that rook, so when things open up, it's definitely gonna be in black's favor. I think probably they have to take here first, and then take or something, and knight comes in with tempo. Ah. Okay, so where are we at? Okay, like I said, pawn was dropped. Now we're threatening a few unpleasantries. Rook takes g7, knight h6 check, queen, forky. And you're also staying on some potential queen takes d5, queen takes knight d7. But okay, that's a little bit far from the moment. Okay, queen e6 seems to be a good kind of defensive resource. Black is okay. No sacrifices, nothing. Looks good. The knight is hanging, so we can't even like try to create some prophylaxis, so the knight might need to move back. I mean, I guess knight h6 is an option. Knight h6, we can remove. Yeah, black is the one with more time, and it's difficult to keep things under control here. I don't know what's the best. I kind of like this kind of idea, but I also like this knight to be activated. The problem is, if you're not careful, if you make it like a silly move like this one, then suddenly this queen gets into play and black will not be happy. So he has to be careful, like after that check, to make sure the knight is protected, because if it moves from there, you know, the queen activates. But other than that, I mean, black doesn't have that much to worry. We'll be back to that game. Let's catch up with the current situations and some of the others, as the players are getting close to the time trouble. We still have quite a lot of games in progress. Actually, it's still not really close to finishing. I mean, this is an important round. The round before the final round is always an important round. You know, you wanna try to maintain your steady play up to that moment. This looks pretty drawish. Black won this. They were up a piece, and did they end up playing till mate? No. Up a piece is nice. Which game was this? Oh, this was the game where White's king just marched a lot. A little too much. Oh, okay, so I think we stopped in that moment. Bishop takes c1. Black offered the queen trade, but you know they're the ones with up material, so white of course tries to avoid, but there's nothing to do to really reach black's king. So it looks like here white resigned. The queen in a6 is trapped. By the way, this rating and title is wrong. The player with the white pieces is below 1400. This is the below 1400 section. Looks pretty equal after rook takes. So we'll catch up with this game after. This is the game where white was winning, right? I was suggesting, so in this position I was suggesting, right, not rook c3, not earlier, not knight takes f2, but rook h4. This would have been the winning continuation for white to take advantage of the skewering or the pinning of the queen. And as the game progressed, it looks like black took over. White, suddenly it became white's king that was in danger, but also white just dropped the rook, and in the end black was able to outplay him. Seems like. Okay, nice win by Nakamura, or better said Louis. And here black's up 2 knights and they went on to win. Okay, catching back up with board 1, it seems that Brian was actually able to outplay his opponent. This e5 certainly has you know, set the tone of how the game was going to go, as white allows black's improvement in the position. Rook c8, and let's see how. That is what he did. Okay, I like that. The bishop was in the way, so I couldn't find its spot. Now I learned. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for that. Retreating the bishop back to e8. This actually helps also when white's gonna push the g-pawn to try to create something. Just go back, keep the king safe, keep the file open. That's the perfect kind of approach that you want. Okay, white is attempting some opening, but there's oh, this is cute. If you take, you're actually gonna get mated. Oh wow, that's such a beautiful move. Knight c3, I love that. And of course, like, something similar is gonna happen to regardless with which piece recaptures, because now you know you can do this too, but you're still gonna get mated in the end. So there's no way for white to actually do something about it. And now that the knight was stabilized there, oh okay, I see. White attempted to take it, but there's no defense here. After queen a1, queen b2, the mate is inevitable. Very, very beautiful finish by Brian. So the only player with 6 out of 6 in the competition, trying to win the whole thing. We'll see whom he will have to face in the next game. This was the game that I mentioned likely could end in a draw because the rooks were going to be traded, but what? White didn't trade? White chose not to trade. Okay, interesting. I thought this endgame was supposed to be a draw. Because in my opinion, all white has to do is just switch over the bishop here to keep black passive to defending the pawn. I mean, I could be wrong. I'll check it later a little bit further, but I believe that's the pretty simple idea. One of black's pieces will be bound to stay to protect, and I don't think d5 is gonna help with any kind of progress. But it looks like white chose to keep the rooks on the board, and that's fine. The rook on... Oh... Okay, Megan's found a tactical idea to win a pawn. Alright, but it's not going to stay down for too long. King f5. Obviously, we couldn't enter in the king and pawn. Wait, is the king and pawn still a draw this one? Yeah, huh. Because I'm just gonna circle around, and yeah, if you go too far away, you might even lose this, but I don't think you will. I think it's like right on time draw. This is like, oh sorry, it's white's turn. This is a draw. Even if you promote first, if these kings were just one file behind, then white was going to be winning, but this is going to be a draw. There's no progress. Black manages to get the queen out, and that's it. If this was a back rank, that would be an issue. Okay, so I guess that would have been a draw too, but white keeps the bishop and attempts the trading of all of the pawns. Yeah, this is gonna finish in a draw. All white has to do is give up the bishop for that pawn. And that will end in a draw. So what have we had here? Black is trying to mate. Doesn't this... Ah. What's the defense? Can we just take? No, it's mate, sorry. So we have to take, right? And now we take. Uh-huh. Somehow white is surviving. Is there a reason why black didn't take the knight? Was he worried of this? But and if we take, you have to take his check queen. You have this move. So no mate. But I think after the winning of the rook, which one do you take? This one probably. Okay, so what is the best move for black here for advantage? It's gonna be hilarious if it's castle. I'm gonna try it. No, it's not. Okay. I thought it was castle. Maybe rook g8? Just rook g8. Okay. I guess the king is safer there than it would be anywhere else, because the e file is closed in. So when you try to go for that rook, we can take the rook or maybe this. No, but just take the rook, and I guess black is threatening this. This pawn is quite advanced. We also have ideas with queen d2 and promoting it. And black is in the driver's seat there. Should we take the knight in e5? White is of course hoping for this, but even this doesn't. Do we? Wait, earlier I was defending like this. Maybe this is still the defense. Give one of the pieces back and then free up the king. I guess this is safe. This is pretty safe for white. But they're getting low on time, so anything can happen. Anything can happen in this game. Ishan is maintaining some compensation for being down in exchange, but I don't know for how long. Doesn't rook takes d7 work here? Yeah. And I think he missed that. I think he thought black will have to take and then he will take there, and then now he has chances to draw this, or even better, like, you know, but he probably missed rook takes. Rook d6 takes d7, because now if you take the rook we recapture and we are up in exchange. If you take the rook like this, we take and we're still up on exchange, and we should be able to be on the winning path. Oh, Jashit was able to win, I guess. They got into a knight endgame, but the weaknesses of whites are a little bit more than blacks. Yeah, see? That is why you have to be very careful with the pawn structure, because as you're getting towards an endgame, a lot of these pawns will be attacked, and, you know, in the right circumstance will be captured. Black will be up 3 pawns. Didn't even need to take the F pawn. There was no way for White to really stop the H pawn, and I guess they did play till the end, but that was a win for Jashit. Nice one. VJ is heading to a nice win here, coming back from a tough loss yesterday. G and H pawns are winning. It just will require a little bit of time. You just need to make sure as you push the pawns forward, you'll make sure that you have a way to hide with the king so that they cannot give you a perpetual. And generally is the H pawn that advances first, then the G, then the king, and there you have it. Check, H, G, king. It's the time for the king. Actually here I think even G6 works, because you know, you can give a couple of checks. We just need to make sure we're going away so that we don't lose the pawns, and then we can approach this rookie. Okay, if they go back there, just check rook. Okay, fine. So I guess in this moment they would go back, and now what is White's winning idea? We bring in the king, yeah, and then we'll trade off the rook. That's basically the thing, because now that you've decided to be on the defensive side, you can't move the rook away from the back rank. So White's king can make its way back to the top, trade the rook on the back rank, and win with those 2 pawns. With one of them, they don't need 2, they only need 1. Let me check how many games remain. Looks like 8 games remaining, so we need to look through them. Alright, so this, we know that game ended in a draw. Eric stopped by the stream. Let's catch up. Okay, this looks winning for White. All White has to do is block that pawn, and then bring in the rook back to try to win it, and the king and pawn should be winning. I anticipated this was gonna be a draw, but maybe someone messed up. White even had advancement. Possibilities of improving here further with the knight. But it wasn't easy to see the nuance. Okay. Once the king has made it in between the pawns, it should be fine for black. Okay, White is trying to advance those pawns. Okay, you gotta be careful. Malix might win this. I think this is the right path. Push the pawn to f7, bring in the knight, mate. Uh-oh. Leong has played quite well, or Anson, but that might not be helping him. Is Julian going to be able to outplay Diego? Okay, this queen endgame should give White winning chances. This was a beautiful win. That game was over too. These players agreed on a draw. Vladimir has been able to outplay Onur in the end, and again, a really cool name, perfectly made for chess. I'm a bit puzzled as to why black doesn't. Oh, is this knight gonna be trapped there? So I guess black needs to get the knight to c4 fast.
With knight a1, black might end up getting their knight trapped. The king just marches and it actually will come this way potentially, and the knight will have nowhere to go. Uh-oh. This game just changed its course completely. Okay, black won that game. Uh-oh. Mate is coming. Okay. I think there's a faster mate here. Check. No, not check. Queen f6. Queen f3. Not every mate starts with a check. That is an important quote to remember as you're trying to find a checkmate when your opponent's king stays you know, is restricted. Sometimes quiet moves can help, but okay, black should still be mating in the end here, but okay. All right. So back to the top boards. Let's see what we stayed with. It looks like I think this game is over. The players have agreed on a draw. Yeah, they agreed on a draw. White can simply grab the knight, make it to a1, after which it's drawn. Arabella is still fighting here. This is going to be interesting as both players get low on time, because you know we'll have to see if there's an opportunity to mate for either sides. Next board has traded off. Okay, black was winning, so Ethan is making his way back to the top. He might be the one facing Brian. I'm not sure, because both of them had the black pieces, so I'm not sure exactly what to expect from the next pairing. VJ is still on his way to win, but it should come soon enough, because okay, now that black's king is away from the pawns, white can just promote in the next couple of moves. Further, we had Maxwell. Yep, as I mentioned, white's king makes its way to the c-pawn, and like when you go there, we need to calculate if this works. I mean, I think it works, because white is up a pawn on this side of the board, so maybe f4 followed by e5, and white should be able to win this one. Alex's position looked like it was going to be winning when we left off. Still thinking, but I thought f6 was the right approach for him. Looks like VJ just won his game, so now we are down to 7 games. White is in the driver's seat in this one. All he has to be careful for is not fall for some kind of perpetual checks. But as long as he keeps checking, and I think white now will give a bunch of checks to win the b7 pawn, then this will fall, and the d pawn marches. There's not so much to do about it. In the other position, I wonder if white found the path. Not yet. White's path to winning here is just bringing in the king to trap the knight, and there's nothing the black can do. It's completely over. And lastly, the last remaining game was this one. Oh, looks like mate is coming. Mate here. I mean, it depends where you move the king, of course, but in the end, the mate has come. If you come here, then we'll check you and checkmate on one of those 2 squares. So another game is about to finish. All right, let's take it back to the beginning. Board 3, Arabella Fang against Weingarten Finesse. Another game finished. Ethan looks like he has won his game. Let's see, Maxwell is getting close. So he was able to win the pawn without even trading the rook. So this should make white's life easier. Alex has indeed pushed those pawns up. And now it is difficult to stop the advancement. I think the easiest is to play... White says... Oh no, it dropped just temporary. To play this, bring in the king and... What? Not bring in the king? Why? Rook g1! Uh-oh! Black starts pushing the a pawn, and when you go g7, you might even lose here. Uh-oh. Okay, alright. Well, white has to be a bit more cautious than Sabina is when she's trying to rush. I don't even know why I'm rushing. There's nowhere I need to go. We are here for the rest of the day. Okay, you know what? Let's just bring in the king. What's the best here, maybe? You go here. The problem is if I go there, I'm just kind of afraid of checks. So, I wonder if I can just play knight f4. Nice prophylaxis. The engine doesn't like it, but my threat is this. Chicky and promotion. That's my threat. So what is black's defense instead of a4 here? That displeases the engine. Only if you do something like this, but I mean, we have the same approach. We win the rook, and you know, we promote first. So f7 played. Okay, king f8. Ah, knight f6. Knight f6. Still not the best. Why Ruby? Oh, Ruby, there's check. Rook f1. Huh. So we really need to be cautious, actually. And if you do this, maybe cheeky. Or actually, king g7. If that pawn wasn't there, it would have been so much easier for black to save this game. Okay, I mean, this is bothering me a bit. Let's check and then we take. Ah, okay, sorry. I can actually, after this, I can actually give you a check, right? And this is how I'm winning. Because this is the threat, and if you move the rook from the f-file, we do that. But where's the draw, though? Apparently after this, there's a draw. It's not a5, or is it? King g7. And if we promote, okay, so we have to take. And maybe just checks, because if you move with the king away from the protection of the pawn, maybe I can take it and this should be a draw. I mean, that's tough. You really need to spend in the time to not blunder, because it's so easy to miss that. Okay, so this is the best approach. There's no point to bring the knight in f6, since this is the way you're going to win, by controlling those two squares. And Alex finds it correctly. Knight e6 check. And now he takes in c5 first. So he takes that pawn too, so that black doesn't have much counterplay. And then in some situations, if there's a need, the knight can be sacrificed for the a pawn, and then white's gonna end up winning with the c if there's a need be. But I think there's no need. Okay. Okay. King h6. And one pawn is going to be promoted inevitably. Okay, so it took a little bit of double checking, but that is the winning approach. And then there was Julian's game. Looks like Julian has been able to outplay that queen endgame. Did white go for the knight? Still no moves on this one. Still no moves. Okay. And this game ended with a mate. Alright, so how many games we have remaining? Arabella's game is still in progress, but looks like she's doing great now. Let's see. The queen stayed stuck in h2. That is brilliant. This is brilliant. If the queen stays stuck there, and castle is in the end what... Oh, wait. Okay, black played for a little bit of a trick here. If you take there, we got this checky. And, well, you have to go here. If you put the knight in front, it's going to be a mate. So you have to go rook here. And I'm sure there's some ways for black to get super decisive advantage. First, let's take the knight. Then we have that. We have the rook. But, of course, Arabella didn't fall for it. She went for this check. And now she's thinking through how to further improve the position. Black's king is in danger. I wonder if I can just go rook here. Apparently not. Oh, this is a threat. Oopsie, I forgot. Bishop d3 is actually a threat. We have to be careful with white. Because f2 pawn is hanging. Okay, alright, never mind. Let's just take the freebies. There's no mate. I thought after knight takes there was a check, but there's nothing. Like king g1 safe. Okay, she's up a piece. Arabella's on her way to win. She might be the one facing Brian in the final round, with chances to finish in the top. Okay. So Ethan won. Maxwell was still playing, but it was a win. Okay. So he did convert in the end. Alex was headed to the win, and he's about to seal the deal there. I think Julian, we already saw he won his game. No moves for white in this position. I'm gonna ask about this board because I'm not seeing updates. Unless white is still thinking. And Lucas won. So right now we should only have two games. One. Oh. I guess Arabella won. Nice one. Okay. So the last remaining game is board 15. So I'm going to ask about it because I don't know what's going on exactly, if there's a DGT transmission. We'll let you guys know in a bit if I get an answer, but this is the last remaining game. Such an exciting event. Okay, so just to recap the standings for the championship section. So we had Brian Lin leading the tournament with 6 out of 6. Megan and Jane haven't been able to catch up with them, and they drew their game. And Arabella Feng is the only one who won, and she was on 4.5, winning this game with 5.5. She's going to likely be the one facing Brian in the final round. I thought Ethan was going to be the one, but as Arabella is half a point ahead, she's likely going to be the one facing him. So with at least a draw, Brian will have the chance to share first place. Of course, with a win, he will be finishing 7 out of 7. He can, of course, also lose, and then that would make Arabella win this this championship. So it's going to be an exciting final round for sure. And I don't know what's going on for this board, to tell you the truth. I'm still no moves. Does anyone have any questions? Final round. If you happen to be on site, just wanted to remind everyone what you can expect as I'm waiting for an answer. So right now it's 12:12 p.m. local time. 12:12, kind of nice time. So you can still stop by the girls club room. They will be there until about 3:30 or 4 p.m. actually. They're closing at 4 p.m. So you have the chance to stop by, socialize a little bit more until 4 p.m. local time. In less than an hour, WGM Jennifer Shahade is going to have a book signing, and starting at 2 p.m., Grandmaster Sadorra is going to take on final comers for some blitz. So I think those who haven't had the chance to play will be able to if you finish earlier. I'm a bit surprised about the timing because the round does start at 2 p.m. But I don't know why it is set up like that, but it is. So if you're on site at 2 p.m., you can stop by, catch up with Grandmaster Sadorra one final time. But until then, WGM Jennifer Shahade is starting out her book signing. So still no moves for this game. I'm gonna refresh the other page and see if I missed something, but no. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to stop here, and I'll be back with to let you know what happened in this game. So the players will start in about an hour and 40 or 45 minutes. Their final round of the day. It comes down to this final round as usual. It is the kind of competition that you know, keeps us on the edge of our seats until the end. So I'm certainly looking forward to catching up with the standings as we go back live at 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Central time. I hope you'll join me later today for the final round, and looking forward to your questions about the event or anything else related to chess. Hi, Shin. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. That's wonderful to hear. Appreciate the look. I hope I'll see you in about an hour and 45 minutes back here live. Until then, I wish you all a wonderful rest of the Sunday. And if you don't happen to have the time to stop by, just keep in mind, please follow US Chess on all the social media accounts. And you can stay notified with new commentaries, educational content, events, announcements, and many other things. These streams are also going to be posted on YouTube, so you might want to be notified when they get posted. And of course, my favorite moments are slowly going to be posted over the next week, so you can catch up with some educational content that was inspiring to me. Hopefully, it is for you as well. With that said, I wish you a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and